In the 30 minutes we were at this Walgreens, we watched 3 people, including this man, steal.
All right, Hannah. So next up, I want to talk about this amazing CNN segment because the crime and shoplifting problem has gotten so bad in San Francisco that even CNN and liberal media outlets cannot ignore it anymore.
Richie Greenberg walked into a San Francisco Walgreens when he saw in the frozen food section this.
Chains, heavy chains that went from padlock to padlock on both sides of the doors, and this was bizarre, something I'd never seen before. This is just more icing on the cake, telling us that rampant crime has become a regular part of life.
So typical that in the 30 minutes we were at this Walgreens, we watched 3 people, including this man, steal.
Did that guy pay? Did that guy pay? He didn't pay.
Walgreens says this Richmond neighborhood store with aisles of products like mustard locked behind plexiglass has the highest theft rate of all their nearly 9,000 U.S. stores, hit more than a dozen times a day. When thieves turned to cleaning out ice cream and frozen burritos, workers grew so frustrated they resorted to the chains. They were ordered down by corporate because of the negative messaging. But Walgreens isn't the only retailer impacted in San Francisco.
You have to ask an employee for help.
At this store, frozen food is controlled with a cable lock. Fake eyelashes locked behind plexiglass, along with lotion and nail polish. At another grocery store, $14 bags of coffee under lock and key.
So, mustard is locked up. The CNN crew was there for 30 minutes and they saw 3 people steal. This is out of control.
What's the point of even being open at this point? If you were going to try to go in there and just simply shop, it would be almost impossible. You'd be having to get somebody unlocked various cases. It would take forever to get through there the legal way. And if you're going to have this much stealing, it just doesn't seem like it's even worth it to live there. And honestly, I would think that that's the best thing businesses could do in response to some of these crazy policies is just shut down and leave. Because if you create deserts where there are bad policies, people will learn a lesson. The politicians will learn a lesson. They'll have to change. And that's what's going to have to happen in these places like San Francisco. They've been run into the ground. There's no excuse for these kinds of things being on the books. I'm a criminal justice reform warrior. I am such a believer in decriminalizing nonviolent behavior and in decriminalizing things that don't actually hurt someone else's person or property. This is not that. And I think that when you've seen these really blue cities start to actually decriminalize real things that should be criminalized, that's a bridge too far. And it actually undermines the case for other criminal justice reform that does need to happen, because then people point to places like San Francisco and say, look, they did all this criminal justice reform. Look how badly it's going. It's like, yeah, well, they did it asshat backwards, right? They didn't come in and actually get rid of stupid things like zoning laws or regulations or poverty crimes, basically, for having your tail light out. They came in and actually decriminalized things that should be criminal. Stealing from somebody should be criminal. Hurting somebody else's property should be criminal. You should go to jail for that. And I don't understand where this instinct comes from other than communism, because they want people to be able to actually, I think, take other people's property and things. And this is the end result.
Yeah, but so the first point you made about stores closing is happening in San Francisco. So reading from the Wall Street Journal here, 22 stores have shut in the city since 2016. The San Francisco Chronicle reports that theft in Walgreens San Francisco stores is 4 times the average for stores elsewhere in the country, and the chain spends 35 times more on security guards in the city than elsewhere. So they're closing up, and it's not just Walgreens. CVS, all these companies have complained of this. And, some people are suspicious of the claims of the companies. And I get that. They obviously have an agenda. But when CNN goes there for 30 minutes and sees 3 people walk out with merch unpaid, clearly there's a problem. And you have to ask yourself why. And here again from the Journal, much of this lawlessness can be linked to Proposition 47, a California ballot initiative passed in 2014, under which theft of less than 950 goods is treated as a nonviolent misdemeanor and rarely prosecuted. Out of concern for safety and potential lawsuits, stores tell employees and security guards not to intervene when they witness a crime. Most suspects, if they are pursued at all by police, are soon released. So Californians effectively decriminalized shoplifting, and not surprisingly, they have more of it. I mean, this is insane to me. One of the only functions of government that is necessary and proper is protecting property rights, because you cannot have a functioning market if people can just steal at will. And it really seems like they expect businesses to just operate in an environment where people can walk in and take their crap. I do understand the rule, by the way, of telling employees not to like engage the shoplifters for liability purposes, for physical safety, but that's why you're supposed to have law and order and police and basic things. I mean, there's a reason this doesn't happen in everywhere in this country, right? Our police aren't great, but they do at least arrest shoplifters in many places. Apparently not in San Francisco, and it's such an absolute mess that even CNN's credulous reporters can't help but just be flabbergasted at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very audacious. Like, man's walking out broad daylight with something in his arms, not paying. And if you know there are going to be repercussions, then why would you not? And this is one problem. This is a bit of a tangent. This is one issue I have with like anarchists and why I'm not there. I'm a very small government person. I would say I'm a min-anarchist, but you have to have laws that protect people's person and property, because if you do not, if there are not repercussions, if people do not fear being caught or punished for violating those things of others, there are a lot of people who simply will do that. And I think that that's, you know, something we've said in criminal justice reform for a long time, is that the best way to actually tamp down on violence and all other crimes is the assuredness that one will get caught. That's the best deterrent to criminality, is that, right? It's not a severe punishment even necessarily. It's the assurance you'll be caught and punished in some mechanism or another. But the reality in the U.S. is that the criminals are increasingly betting they won't get caught. And they're not wrong, because our clearance rates are in the trash, even where the laws are still on the books. And then you have blue cities like this that are actually just getting rid of the laws altogether. And, you know, it's not even just happening in places like that. Like, I know there was a Lululemon store a little north of Atlanta last month where they had a policy that employees should not interfere with somebody stealing clothing from them. And somebody came in and stole, and like, I think it was the assistant manager did confront them, and she got fired for doing that. So I think that we see this attitude starting to like seep across corporations of like, just take the stuff. And I don't think that that's a good idea. I agree. You don't want to put your employees in harm's way or create liability issues, but have undercover policemen or have undercover security there. I know when I worked at a grocery store in high school, we had a man named Joe. He was retired law enforcement. He walked around, pretended to be a shopper. He caught shoplifters left and right. One time he caught somebody with a turkey down their pants trying to walk out the front door. He was on it. He was amazing. I loved Joe. And that's, I mean, just, I mean, how much is that, right? Like, you pay somebody hourly to do that. You save all of the amounts that you would have stolen from you. It's just common sense, good business.
I want to say one thing. We need to morally stigmatize this again more as a society, because you'll see people downplaying or defending this and acting as if, oh, these are people stealing to feed their families. First off, that would still be wrong, but that's also not most of what's happening here. A lot of this is organized retail theft, where criminal rings are stealing all this stuff and then reselling it. And it is not, you know, we're not talking about starving moms of 5 who have nowhere else to turn, who steal a loaf of bread. That is not what we're talking about here.
Also, this isn't Aladdin. It's BS. If you want a meal in America, you can get one. The requirement is often that you have to stop doing drugs. And that is why people don't want to go to some of these shelters. That is still a choice. Nobody is just hungry in America. You have free lunches.
Well, there's food stamps too and other stuff.
There's shelters. There's churches. I mean, I used to volunteer at places in New York City. A lot of these people game the system and they go to multiple charity dinners a night. You can get food. You do not have to steal. I will never buy that excuse. Not to say that these programs are managed well, but we have a crazy amount of assistance for people who are poor or hungry in this country. If you are willing to not do drugs and you're willing to get on the ladder to start working your way up, you can do it in America, and I won't hear anything contrary to that. It's just simply not true.